Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, happy Halloween! It's my favorite time of the year. It's where everything just gets spooky as fuck. I love it. It's like Freddy Krueger becomes like the October Santa Claus. Body mutilation you'd see in the likes of Saw or Hellraiser get marketed towards small children. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is played for laughs. And everything holy gets mocked and thrown out the window for instead sinner's delight. It's a really weird time of year. Also, give me those pumpkin-shaped Reese's all day long. Oh yeah! So, with it being Halloween, what are we gonna do? We're gonna take a look at a retro video game, a horror-themed retro video game. But rather than just something like mindless zombie killing or something that's just way over the top, I want to do something that's more in the Halloween vibes. Today, I want to take a look at one of my favorite fighting franchises. Let's take a look at Darkstalkers. Darkstalkers is a gothic 2D fighting franchise by good old Capcom. The series has characters that strongly takes inspiration from international folklore and also the likes of classic horror books and films like Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, and The Creature of the Black Lagoon. The first game was released in 1994, 30 years ago, in arcades. And today we'll be taking a look at all three original Darkstalker titles. So let's go ahead and reminisce of these old retro video games. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first one in the series. This is 1994's Darkstalkers, The Night Warriors. So before we get into this, I got something I got to admit. I'm not a fighting game expert by any means. I like fighting games alright, but I'm not someone you'd find playing like in a tournament or, I don't even really know all the fighting game lingo. I just play fighting games for fun. So all the opinions you're going to get for these games are by a super casual, so keep that in mind. Let's take a look at this cast because, man, what a variety of characters. What could the story of this game possibly even be about? Well, there's this big bad guy here, Pyron, an alien that devours planets, and Earth is next on his list. It's up to this world's monsters to defeat this Galactus wannabe and save the day. And let's get to know these characters a bit. First up, there's the vampire lord, Dimitri. He helped organize this fighting tournament in this game's subplot to see who was the strongest monster fighter. Next, there's John Talbane. Not only is he a werewolf, he's an expert martial artist. Then we got Victor, the Frankenstein's monster character. He's in the tournament to prove to his dead master that he's the strongest alive. We also got Lord Raptor, the Australian rock and roll musician turned into a zombie ghoul. We also have Anarchus, the mummy, because, you gotta have a mummy monster. We also got one of the more popular characters in the series, Felicia, the cat girl. She's a nun who runs an orphanage that has dreams of being a dancer and singer in Las Vegas. Huh, okay. Next we got Bishamon, a samurai ghost inhabiting a cursed samurai suit. We also got Rico, the merman. Fun fact, his name is actually based on the actor who played the creature from the Black Lagoon, Rico Browning. Next, my least favorite character in the series, the Bigfoot monster simply called Sasquatch. While all the other Darkstalkers are pretty cool looking, this guy is just too goofy for me. Not a fan. Ugh. Well, we're going from my least favorite to my most favorite. The last playable character is Morgan. Morgan. Oh, Morgan. Morgan is a succubus and the adopted daughter of the ruler of the underworld. She's also the main rival to Dimitri. Why is she my favorite character? Well, just look at her. Isn't it obvious? Stop! That's what succubuses do! So, now that we know the characters, let's get to the game. Pick your characters here. I'll of course pick Morgan. So typical fighting game rules apply here. Beat down your opponent until they have no more health to KO them. best 2 out of 3 wins. The gameplay is very similar to Capcom's Golden Beauty, Street Fighter 2. There are some minor differences though, like air blocking and crouch walking. The game also features a super meter, in which once it's full, the player can perform a combo-like move or a power-up version of one of their special attacks. But rather than being able to store your specials like modern fighting games, once you fully fill the meter, it will gradually drain down. So use it or lose it, buddy. After you pick your character, you'll go on to have a one-on-one fight with every other character in the game. Beat them all, and you'll have 2 more fights with 2 unplayable characters. The first is Hutzel. Hutzel is a robot of Pyron that landed on Earth and lay dormant until Byron's arrival. Let's destroy him! And last but not least, we finally fight Pyron. This guy, who looks like Satan on fire, has got some pretty crazy attacks. But he can be defeated. So everyone's got a different ending, but with Morgan here, she defeats Pyron and pretty much sucks his soul out. She then goes home and pretends that nothing happened. So I gotta say, the game is really fun. I really like the aesthetics too. I dig the cool, spooky, gothic vibes. The stages look really fantastic as well. They're all so colorful. My favorite is probably Victor's stage. It's got that big machine in the back with his dead dad's lifeless body lying in the chair, and you'll see the spirit come out of the body and float around. It's crazy. I also really enjoy Bishoman's stage, for one specific reason. Whenever a match ends, this little dog right here starts dancing. Look at him go! That's amazing! So, for the most part, that's the first game in the series, Darkstalkers, The Night Warriors. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what they did with the sequel. This is the 1995 sequel, Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. I don't know what it is, I kind of feel a little uncomfortable right now. So, Darkstalkers Revenge. On the surface, the game looks pretty fresh. The character select screen has a fresh coat of paint, the fighters got new colors, the new character portraits are fantastic looking, and we also got some brand spanking new fighters. First off, we got Senko, a Jingashi with some crazy big ass arms. We also got Donovan, a Buddhist monk monster hunter who uses crazy sword attacks. And not only are those 2 playable characters new, but Pyron and Hutzel, the 2 boss characters from the first game, are playable here. New to the game gameplay-wise, you can select between normal fighting style or auto-blocking when selecting a character, and you can also now store specials during fights. Other than that, the game is pretty much identical to the first. Senko and Donovan get their own new stages, but every other stage is from the first game, just with some slightly different coloring, which honestly, the colors they chose kind of makes it look a bit washed out to me. So, not only are the stages basically the same, as you can see here, I beat the game using Morgan again, and I get the exact same ending. Only difference is a character portrait is shown after the ending. Darkstalkers Revenge is as different to Night Warriors as Street Fighter 2 is to Street Fighter 2 Turbo. There's some changes in there and it's easily the more superior game, but it feels more like an update rather than a whole new title. But with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the 3rd game in the Darkstalkers series. This is the 1997 release of Vampire Savior, the Lord of Vampire. Now we're talking this here. This is a sequel. We got some new characters, new stages, new endings, and we got some refined gameplay. When it comes to playable characters, we got a total of 15. Unfortunately, Pyron, Hutzel, and Donovan got axed, but we got 4 new characters in their place. First up, we got QB. She is from a race of insects called soul bees, and at one time served the game's final boss. We also got Lilith. When Morgan was an infant, a fragment of her soul was separated to keep her powers in check. Lilith now seeks to consume Morgan's body, which she rightfully sees as hers. Or some weird storyline nonsense like that. We also got my favorite new addition to the game, Baby Bonnie Hood, or BB Hood for short. She's a little Red Riding Hood type character, but she carries an Uzi and a bunch of explosives. She's also one of the few humans in this series. She's pretty dark, like real humans. And for the last character, he's actually the final boss of the game, Jeddah. So, Jeddah was prematurely killed long ago, but he's been resurrected. After seeing how chaotic the demon world has gotten, he decides to recreate it. He needs souls, but the Darkstalkers cast returns to stop him. And while you're fighting, you'll notice things here are a bit different. First off, there's a lot of cool new specials you can do. But one of my favorite changes is how, unlike the traditional fighting game where you go through a best 2 out of 3 rounds of fighting, here, when you and your opponent get damaged enough to lose a life, so to speak, the next round will instantly start, with the defeated character getting a full life bar and the winning character keeping their health as is. It's a unique premise that freshens things up, but also seems pretty fair. And I gotta say, the sprite work here is great. The animations are just so animated. There's a lot more character work in here, and it's something I feel is kind of missing from the more modern 3D fighting games. I think it's just a really good looking game. The characters have so much expression. And look at this animated stage. I think it's my favorite in the game. It's so out there. And look at this. No, it's that dog again. So in this game's main mode, you'll fight through several random matches until you reach Jeddah. And goddamn, look how weird this stage looks. Look at that baby! Holy shit! Ah! Anyway, let's defeat Jeddah. Now, if you're playing as the lovely Morgan like I am, the last fight isn't actually Jeddah, but instead her weird sister, clone, younger self, lost soul, whatever she is, Lilith. Let's beat her up too. I only wanted to have a body to live in? You want this body, don't you? You need me? Alright then, come inside me now. Let's continue. So, this is Vampire Savior. I love it for pretty much every reason I just talked about. The fighting feels on point, the characters come off way more interesting than ever before, the sprites are fantastic, and even the music here is top notch. If you're wanting to play a haunting fighting game this Halloween season, something that's fun, something with weird imagery, horrifying imagery, and honestly a lot of lewd imagery, Vampire Savior is the way to go. The third game in the series, Vampire Savior, is hands down the best Darkstalkers game in the whole series. So good, in fact, that Capcom never made a sequel ever again. They just kept rehashing the third one over and over again. Vampire Savior, or Darkstalkers 3 as it would eventually be called, would be re-released on the PS1 and the Sega Saturn. One of my favorite Darkstalker games, Darkstalkers Chronicle of the Chaos Tower, was a Darkstalkers 3 remix released for the Dreamcast in Japan and locally everywhere else on the PSP. And if that's not enough Darkstalkers rehashed action for you, there's yet another compilation title that features both Darkstalkers 2 and 3, and that's Darkstalkers Resurrection for the PS3 and Xbox 360. And while the series sells well, Capcom doesn't really see it as a success. Besides some Darkstalkers cameos in the likes of SNK vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom, or Super Puzzle Fighter, the series is dead. I mean, the game it's not a smash hit. I don't know what it is, because I think the gameplay is fantastic, but maybe it's the spooky gothic anime look that just kind of turns off a lot of people, which is a shame because Darkstalkers is just so different in a good way. The series has so much charisma, which is something that a lot of modern fighting games are kind of missing. Being honest, I unfortunately don't see this series ever getting revived. Games these days cost a small fortune to develop, and I don't see Capcom putting in the money when they already got their fighting game cash cow that is Street Fighter. Our best bet for anything Darkstalkers these days is hoping for some hefty representation in a Capcom party fighting game, or maybe yet another rehash of Darkstalkers 3. This saddens me, but hey, I got my copies of the game to always go back to. And right now, with Capcom releasing all the fighting game compilation titles, the series is pretty easy to get your hands on. It's a series I recommend playing, specifically the third title. Almost 30 years later, I still find the game a blast to play. But those are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Darkstalkers? You like the series? You hate the series? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, yada yada yada. And I hope you guys have a safe Halloween. Everyone have fun out there. And I'll see you all on the next video. Take care!